Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Perspective. We'll be talking about the PM's two-day visit to Turkey and of course our bilateral relationship with Turkey and of course the way that we've seen the President of Turkey win his elections, the ramifications as far as the region is concerned, as far as our overall bilateral ties are concerned, the kind of cooperation, bilateral cooperation that we're looking at in the future, which the Prime Minister also talked about. All of that today, and a little later on we'll also be talking about extremism and politics of polarization as far as the youth is concerned, and the way the indoctrination of the youth, which of course has resulted in what happened on the May 9th. We'll be talking about the overall effects of the kind of politics that we've seen recently on the youth of Pakistan a little later on. Let's go and look at a package as far as Turkey is concerned that our team has prepared, and our relationship, bilateral relationship, and the future cooperation with Turkey in different areas.
As Pakistan slowly wins back the trust of allies after a disastrous run on diplomatic front under PTI government, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif during his visit to Turkey rekindled the bright prospects of future of Pakistan-Turkey ties and confidence of Turkish business investments. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif attended the inauguration of Recep Tayyip Erdogan as President of Turkey, along with 21 heads of states, 13 prime ministers, parliamentary and ministerial level representatives, and representatives of international organizations including the NATO and the OIC. The Prime Minister attended the ceremony on the invitation of President Erdogan. During the visit, Premier invited the Turkish investors and businessmen to invest in Pakistan as both countries aim to increase their trade partnership. In his meeting with the delegation of Anadolu Group of companies in Ankara, Prime Minister encouraged the group to come to Pakistan. During Prime Minister's meeting with Chairman Dolsar Engineering, he offered Pakistan government's full cooperation in helping company expand its investment in Pakistan, as Irfan Akar showed keen interest in expanding the footprint in country's energy and construction sectors. Shehbaz Sharif also met chairperson Turkish firm Limak Holdings to explore the prospects of companies' investments in Pakistan's energy, infrastructure, tourism and construction sector. Another delegation led by Daik Neil Olpak also met Premier with keen eye on Pakistan's renewable energy sector. Turkish investors expressed willingness to visit Pakistan to directly interact with the relevant stakeholders and finalize the joint ventures. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif held frank conversation with President Erdogan during his visit, which showed that both countries stand together and willing to further expand ties under the current Turkish leadership. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif invited President Erdogan to visit Pakistan to co-chair the 7th meeting of the High-Level Strategic Cooperation Council in Islamabad.
Right, welcome back. We've seen the areas, of course, as far as mutual cooperation is concerned. We'll be talking a little bit about the visit of the Prime Minister with Dr. Suljuk Aydin from Turkey. Dr. Suljuk, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear.
What is the overall, the visit as far as the Prime Minister of Pakistan is concerned? Of course, it was to congratulate President Erdogan, but overall, of course, bilateral cooperation has been on the agenda also. We've also seen the Prime Minister talk about that, and of course, he's also suggested a certain target that he says is quite doable for mutual areas of mutual cooperation between Pakistan and Turkey. How do you look at it overall?
First of all, thank you for involving me for this program. And also, I want to tell you that the new cabinet also is announced in Turkey, and this inauguration meeting is also very significant across the Turkish history, because that's the first time President Erdogan did this kind of meeting. And if you look at the Turkish history, it is first time to involve all minorities, all different social groups in this inauguration when he was doing his speech. And also he invited all world leaders across the world. And Pakistan also attended with the Prime Minister, and also Turkey-Pakistan relation is historically very significant. And Turkey's perspective towards is different layers. First of all, Turkey sees the countries, the Muslim-populated countries, and the countries which are geographically very close and has a historical relation from the Ottoman Empire, is like we are calling them gönül coğrafyası, which means the geography of heart for Turkey. And Pakistan is also one of these countries for Turkey and has a good relation historically and wants to improve this relation to say the better, equitable, and just world is possible. And Erdogan repeatedly say this motto in the United Nations and says the world is bigger than five. And this picture is also very significant for Turkey's perspective to world, along with the other partners like Pakistan.
Dr. Seljuk, what about, as far as export is concerned, as far as import is concerned, areas, as far as commerce is concerned, benefiting in those areas for both Turkey and Pakistan? It seems, there's a lot that can be achieved. There's a lot that still is possible for both the countries in that quarter. Would you agree?
Yes, of course. Yes, of course. Because as I said, it is the geography of heart for Turkey, and historically, Turkey has good relations with these countries, including Pakistan. But it is not in the level of what these countries desires, want. That's why these countries want to elaborate these relationships. And also, if you look at these meetings, there was a president of Azerbaijan and Armenia. And as you know, just a couple of years ago, they had a war conflict for the Nagorno-Karabakh region. And also Turkey supported Azerbaijan. But in that meeting, both leaders was in the meeting because Turkey wants to give a message to the world. Turkey wants to peace in the region, in the borderland area, including Iraq and Syria, which are the most conflicted area in the world, and also in the Black Sea area, on the basis of Black Sea area, Turkey is the borderland of Ukraine and Russia as well. So the Turkish message was so clear for the neighboring country and also the countries like Pakistan to elaborate these kind of relationship.
Of course, the Prime Minister, Shehbaz Sharif, also has a personal relationship with President Erdogan. And we all saw the way that he has, very graciously took mangoes from Pakistan. We've all seen that footage. And it seems, of course, that area, as far as our fruits are concerned, are among other areas also, and another area to tap into as far as export is concerned. But, keeping all of that aside, as far as Turkey itself is concerned, he's been, as far as the president is concerned, he's been elected, I believe, the third time. Overall, what is the mood in Turkey at this time, and what is, what are the supporters feeling? Him, of course, having been, like I said, elected the third time, that's quite a record, right?
Yes, you're right. It is the third term of Erdogan in presidency, but also it is the before presidency he was elected as a prime minister of Turkey 3 times. So last 2 decades, more than 2 decades, he is governing Turkey, running to Turkey, and also he has 5 years more, which means that President Erdogan had governed Turkey 25 years, 26 years. So it is like an incredible term, and constantly he was governing to Turkey. He has been governing Turkey. If we look at the Turkish history, even the Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, who is the founder of modern Turkey, did not govern Turkey as much as President Erdogan, because he governed Turkey 15 years. And President Erdogan is also symbolized very much different leadership for Turkey, because of the establishment of Turkey had a different perspective before Erdogan came to power. But this long period of governing Turkey, he changed the direction of Turkey, including domestic and also foreign policy of Turkey. If we check the domestic policy of Turkey before Erdogan came to power, Turkish state was built, founded by the modern bureaucrats. And from the perspective of Jean-Jacques Rousseau, the contract of this country is based on the secular Turkish state. The secular policy of Turkey is very much aggressive But Erdogan was able to change this policy to be a modern secular country, very much modern secular. That's why Turkish state started to elaborate peaceful relation with the conservative Muslim majority people. If you look at this immigration meeting, President Erdogan had a headscarf girls in that picture, and also head of the Diyanet, the National Religious Center, head of the National Religious Center, was giving a speech, and also the other leaders of the Christian and Jewish community was in the meeting as well. That's why Turkey's Erdogan changed the direction of Turkey from aggressive secular country to moderate secular country, including to all these religious leaders. And also, before Erdogan, Kurdish issue was so
relationship
high.
with Turkey, and also, you know, we saw the way that Turkey supported Pakistan recently as far as Kashmir is concerned. There's no denying the kind of bilateral relationship that Pakistan has with Turkey, and we hope that it will be continue to be a long and fruitful one. And of course, we will benefit mutually from areas of trade and commerce also. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Suljuk Aydin, and from Turkey. We will be taking a short break, after which we'll come back and talk about the politics of polarization, extremism that we've seen recently, and its effect on the youth of Pakistan at this time, intolerance that we've seen recently seep into society. All of that today after a short break. Welcome back. We have with us Dr. Shoaib Ahmad, who's an educationist. He's also an executive director at Al-Ijaz Foundation. Thank you for joining us today. Dr. Shoaib, you know, we've seen recently, unfortunately, there's a trend, as there was, you know, a trend as far as extremism was concerned. We've also seen a lot of intolerance seep into society. We saw, of course, the youth mobilized and not in a good way, with you know, a lot of aggression that you know, culminated unfortunately in what happened on May 9th. Overall, this style of politics, which is, you know, we've seen as far as the former Prime Minister is concerned, perhaps still continuing himself, but that kind of exhorting, that kind of propelling towards that path has unfortunately had a detrimental effect on society. Would you agree?
Bismillah ar-Rahman, first of all, Assalamu alaikum to you and the viewers, those who are watching us all around Pakistan. If you may allow me to say, before commenting on the exact on your question, let me tell you one very interesting thing about the youth, because I've been with the youth for the last almost more than 3 decades. So I knew what type of trends and things are going on around, and the way these youth are to some extent keep on mobilizing by so many others as well. You know, our youth is passing through the age of ICT, the communication age, and to them every single solution of their problem lies with the device which is in their hands. To me, this device is considered as the 6th sense, apart from all those 5 senses which we are having at the moment. This is the 6th sense. And do remember, my youth, that these senses may be, on some of the occasions, they may misguide you, like when we say all that gold, all that glitter is not gold.
Yes,
so
gold.
you maybe get trapped. And this is the main cause which our youth is at the moment is not trying to understand, the way this simple device is keep on channelizing their strength in some in those directions which are to some extent very disastrous and at the same time very harmful. Now coming back to this the present scenario, if you just look at the history of Pakistan and the history of politics all around the world, This politics starts with with a notation which gives someone patience, which gives someone tolerance, which gives someone to accept others' opinion, to expand your heart, to have different kind of point of views, to accept different kind of views. I don't know, in very short span of time, why we miss this very important link of politics towards human being. That politics is a kind of thing which gives you wisdom, which gives you tolerance. And the way this politics is being utilized in our environment, this is by all means is not a politics. If we just take two examples, one is from the life of the great Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. His whole politics, his whole ideology was revolving around the politics of reconciliation. You know, that was one of the most difficult time in the history of subcontinent. But the way he got this concept of reconciliation, and he sat with his very great opponents and he started negotiating with others. Similar is the case of our great Qaid Muhammad Ali Jinnah. He was always believing in this reconciliation, in which there is no concept of violence. We haven't find the violence, and at the same time, when we are talking about the state of Medina in present scenario, in state of Medina, the first and foremost thing which was used by our beloved Prophet ﷺ was the negation of this concept of violence. So he said at that time, it's been peace for everybody. So
on that note, let me come back to you. We also have with us Rana Maqbool Ahmad from, he's Senator Rana Maqbool Ahmad from the PMLN. Ji, Rana Saab, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Rana Saab, we've been talking about, with Dr. Shoaib here, the politics of extremism, the kind of, violence we saw recently, that resulted in what happened on May 9th. Even if we don't, don't discuss per se the events of May 9th leave those aside for a little bit. The question is that, we've had this exhorting, this path that, has been led as far as the youth is concerned, that has been going on for a while now. Would you agree? I mean, it started with intolerance, which normal conversations, which drawing room conversations, ability to disagree with one another, unfortunately seemed lost for a while, and that was the start of the kind of intolerance we saw, and then later on it kept on increasing by many folds. Would you agree?
Sure. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. My Islam to Dr. to you as well. He was talking about a very solemn value of Islam, especially the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him. I used to say the best man is that man who has the best manners and the best behavior and the conduct with his fellow human beings. So this was a product of to begin with, in the present days, one person, namely Imran Khan, that he preached provocation. He used derogatory language, provocative language, abusive language. And you might remember whenever we interacted with each other, as you being such an established anchor, I always protested, for God's sake, he should hold his tongue. Because the way he talks, the language he uses, the diction he uses, that is much below the dignity of a politician. But he did not stop.
But Rana, would you say that intolerance has unfortunately seeped into our politics?
Oh yes, but I think now we are at a stage that there are many actions taken, preventive and effective and legal actions are being taken that will have an impact. But unfortunately, you can remember he telling the children of his followers and disciples that if you go to school and you come across the children of your opponents, you say your people, your fathers and parents are corrupt. And he would to preach that, look, your boys and girls will not be getting married. because people will turn against you. So this type of venom he has been injecting into the society. Look at him, what they do after formal arrangements at Rawza Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. What did they do? So that was perhaps their mission or manifesto, to create a schism in the society and create hatred. And his hate speeches, you might remember the speeches you used to make. And finally, you have now reached this conclusion, and that is the final product of his sustained and consistent inimical behavior to their fellow human beings, that this incident, this ghastly incident of 9th May has taken place. That is the result of that. So,
I don't want to dwell too much into politics, but at this time, of course, you know, we are looking at overtures from the former Prime Minister himself. You are saying that, you know, when on the path of extremism, on the path of hatred, on the path of shunning other politicians, other political parties, perhaps he went so far that, you know, now he's not getting the kind of results, the kind of acceptability, the kind of dialogue that perhaps, you know, he wants to initiate now. You know, because of course we saw constant attempts rebuffed, we saw, like you said, name calling, and the effect of that all round as far as the political paradigm is concerned, the political landscape is concerned. Unfortunately, it's going to take time for that to recede also.
Yes, unfortunately, Manav, you're absolutely correct that he betrayed the cause of political ethics and political mannerism and political etiquette. And he used all substandard and obnoxious methodologies to defeat his opponents. That was not a correct policy. His attitude was very venomous, and he depicted himself as a mercurial character, and a mercurial and a phlegmatic character, having no balance of equilibrium in his behavior, unfortunately. So that is the result. Now, the main issue is at this stage how to address the situation, this volcanic situation. Can we set the cadres of youth right and try to reform them? Can we do that? Yes, we can do that. Now, more so, we must emphasize on this mission. How can we handle the youth, because they have been misguided, and more so they have their own predicaments. They are unemployed, they are unskilled, and they have been pushed into the quagmire of terrorism. So how to address this situation? I have certain proposals. If you give me time, I can dilate on them within a minute or so.
I will give you time. I will come back to you. Let me just go to Dr. Shoaib, and then I'll come back to you. Dr. Shoaib, you know, this is a tall order. Certainly, you know, what Rana Saab is also saying, it's not going to be easy. And I mean, you know, regardless of party politics, regardless of whichever party you support, I always say that, and I've always been saying this, that it's the change in your overall political dialogue, if you notice, and I'm sure that, you know, you interact with so much youth, like you said, there is a change in temperament, there is a change of tolerance, there is a change of, there is an inability to agree. I think it's you know, one of the most important things that I think is undermined in our society is ability to agree to disagree. If you don't agree with me, or you necessarily don't agree with my point of view, it doesn't mean you're going to bash you know, a stone in my head. And that, unfortunately, is what we've come to. No?
Yes, exactly. And why it is happening at the moment? I don't know why those who claim to be the leaders of this nation, why they forget this very important component of leadership. You know, leadership is a triangle. On its one end, leader himself. On the other end, there were their followers. And a very third important component of leadership is the demand of situation. What this situation demands from you. Now, if you look at the scenario of Pakistan and the way our youths are keep on, I must say that the way our brain drain is going on right now, you know, in 2022, almost more than 1 million people left, 1 million, around 0.8 million people left Pakistan, and those were the best brains of Pakistan. And in just last 3 months, we have lost 200,000 people. So, why it is so? It is just because the people, those who are responsible for the mentorship of this youth nation, see what they are doing at the moment. They are missing this basic component of the demand of time, which is the most important and essential ingredient of leadership. Now, if you look at the demand of time, your demand times, our youth must be very vibrant. We are so fortunate that we are among those nations, those who are having one of the largest human resource pool of youth. So, the way we need to channelize them, the way we need to channelize their strengths, I don't know why they are missing this very important component. And rather, instead of working on their positive energy, they are utilizing their energies to their own will.
Because of course it serves your short-term political
Yes,
ends, and
yes,
that's
exactly.
what was being used, and that's where it was targeted. Let me go to Rana Sahab. Rana Sahab, I know that you want to take us through what your solutions. You're saying that we can actually move away from this kind of this state of the youth, and I'll let you go there. But overall, as far as interesting point, as far as overseas Pakistanis are concerned, also unfortunately, not only in Pakistan, but we had some bad incidents happen to our politicians abroad also. That kind of intolerance translated to not only those within Pakistan, but outside also. And when you talk of self-expression, when you talk about the right to your opinion, unfortunately the ability to respect the other person's opinion, or the ability to tolerate other people, seem to have eroded in that political following, so to speak. And that also, like I said, didn't happen just in Pakistan, but outside also.
That is there. That was a planned campaign of Imran Khan against his opponents, which was unfortunate, and it sent a very wrong message to the world community about our conduct and about our tradition and behavior. It was not our tradition to behave like this. So this thing is all negative. But now, what I want to dilate is on, let's re-engage the youth into certain activities, and let's try to repair their behavior and repair their conduct. And we have to use certain methodologies of behavioral therapy, and by way of working with the universities, working with the human rights forums, working with other nucleus in the society, and to create a situation and a conducive climate that the youth, they are brought around and they listen to the word of ethics and morality. That will be a campaign, as you have said. It's a very arduous and difficult job, but it's to be done. It's a responsibility of not only of the government, but other echelons of the societies and NGOs and men of opinion. That is to be done. Number two is they are to be engaged and brought into the main challenge of working core of the country, because most of them are unemployed, and they react to the society because they think they are not being given their rights. So we have to go for proper plans to creating job opportunities for them. For example, I have in my mind, I was a young student and about to join the service, and Bhutto took over, and there was a big crisis of jobs all around. And he brought around a plan which is called National Development Volunteer Program.
Okay.
So young men, postgraduates and graduates who were not getting any job, they were given assignments in universities, in colleges and other institutions, in technical institutions, in technically academic institutions, and private occupations in agriculture. They were called a National Development Volunteer Program. And they were not given that level of salary as to the regular employees. If a lecturer was used to get 350, they were given 250 or 200.
Like an internship.
Yes, at least they were engaged for the time being, and they were satisfied to a large extent that they are not jobless, because joblessness creates a lot of frustration. So that we have to do immediately. No doubt, the Muslim League government also went for a campaign and a plan and a program like giving the laptops etc., for working in the world of IT.
We've
And that is
also
also
seen
very
Mariam Nawaz take up, as far as youth is concerned, she's also, doing a lot of programs. She's also trying to steer the youth towards, a more tolerant society. Perhaps, those also can, are a part of your overall framework at this time.
that can be relaunched, and they can work with the foreign agencies as well. And this short-term and long-term measures in this small cottage industry, they can be got engaged, and they can explore the avenues to support and sponsor the articles of not very high price, but the export to the foreign countries, like instruments and instruments of surgery and footballs and sports and all these things they can do, and they can be valuable asset for the community. And more so, it will be a great, in a way, war against the estrangement phenomena of the youth, because youth, they feel estranged in this society because they are not being looked after. So that has to be there, and they are to be involved in the community services. There was a law framed by the Senate and the National Assembly. It was called Community Integration Program. Okay. So I authored that law, but somehow, unfortunately, this was not implemented. It was grouping on the pattern of the Holy Prophet's vision right in the beginning, looking after the community themselves. It was grouping 10 houses and 30 houses and 90 houses together and making one or two persons responsible, and then giving them the assignment to look after the old people, the sick people, people who are not in good shape health-wise, because the insecurity syndrome is eating up the society. A citizen living in a city of 20 million thinks and says, "Mera ithe kaun hai? I'm absolutely alone." So that issue and that phenomena is to be addressed by the society itself, by putting the community together so that they look after each other and they try to stand by each other. I assure you, poverty and this difficulties, the medicine and other things, the community can arrange for themselves if their energies are put together in an organized manner. This is what the community integration is, that the people, they start looking after each other. So I personally think by certain steps, you can imagine, we are just amazed. India is earning 200 billions out of these young people who are working with IT. And we are earning only 22 billion working with the IT. So we should expand the scope of these fields, and as you have rightly pointed out, we will get across to Mariam as well, just to assist her, that these projects are to be launched. And you might remember that half of the day, the big institutions, universities and colleges, where a lot of IT laboratories and computer science laboratories, they're lying absolutely unused. We can put the youth on that and train them properly for certain jobs. It's so easy, because infrastructure is already there, which is not being utilized properly.
Is most important, and of course, like you mentioned, let me come back to you, Dr. Shoaib. Like Rana Saab is saying, of course, disillusionment, unfortunately, is a huge factor.
Yes, true.
As far as society is concerned. There is that, that ability to associate what he's saying, as far as your roots are concerned. Yes. There's disillusionment also, and along with that, of course, we are battling huge economic issues at this time. Yes, so all of those things, are, of course, the root of it is trying to get your youth off the ground.
Yes, true.
And if we can manage to somehow do that and go back to some kind of tolerance, it's going to be a huge achievement.
Yes, true. Just adding to the point of view of Rana Saab, fortunately, I worked on a project in United Kingdom during my stay when I was doing my postdoctorate. That the name of that program was the Youth Engagement Program, and it was so beautifully designed. When I came back, I tried to introduce it to some higher circles, But unfortunately, if Rana Sahib is listening to me, the people like us, those who are trained in some skills, they were always kept away from the mainstream just because of the wishes of some others, those who are sitting in power. So, and even if today I can offer that program to the government of Pakistan, that was such a beautifully designed program, and see, they were facing the problem, this menace of the homegrown terrorism during their this 2005, 2006, 2007. UK was passing through a very difficult phase, and they had this homegrown extremism at that time, and they beautifully designed this program of youth engagement, which had its own TORs and things like that. So my point is, unless or until you are unable to engage your youth, and it is not only by offering them some internships. We have so many internships program, and you know the way they did with these programs and all other our governance issues. Let me tell you one thing very important. This youth engagement programs will work in 3 phases, in 3 spheres, I must say. On one end, there is a need to, it's been essential for parents to come forward and engage their children. You know, right now we are missing this human to human interface link. Our children are away from the parents. They're hardly being able to talk to their even parents now. On the other hand, our educational institutions, the role, the mentorship of teacher is very important. And you know, at the moment, I feel very sorry for my teachers, my university fellows, because they are engaged in so many other activities. Right now, they couldn't find time to engage their youth. So again, we are missing another important component, and then these governance issues are there. So unless or until we can be able to overcome all these 3 dimensions, we may not be able to engage youth.
Okay.
And you know, these youths are being misused by anybody else. Now, another very important thing, which I must say, I don't know whether I can be able to get again it or not, but you know, sometime you need to work on your opponents as well. Let me put this thing in front of you, and if Rana Sahib is listening to us, those who were, I must say, those who were being used by some other forces at the moment, they are not very bad people. You know, among them, some of the finest and talented youth of Pakistan were being misused and misguided by someone for his political achievements. What our job is, okay, there is a concept of law and order, and there are certain rules and laws applicable to all those who breach the law. But even then, I must say that we must open our heart, bring them on board, give them some relaxations, talk to them, and you know, a goodwill gesture. That is very important for this youth, because you know, our prisons, they are the makers of the criminals. They are not sort of things which help some criminal to get back to the normal life.
You're saying rehabilitation is very important.
So this rehabilitation process is very important, and if Rana Sahib is listening, we must open our heart to those youth, because I personally knew some of them, those who are very fine individuals, but you know, to some extent they blindfoldedly followed some political agendas of someone. So that's why they distracted. So we need to engage them, we need to talk to them and bring them back. This is very essential to me.
Unfortunately, that's all the time that we have. Thank you so much for being with us. Dr. Shoaib Ahmad, thank you for your very valuable input. Senator Rana Maqbool Ahmad, thank you for joining us today. Thank you for giving us your valuable time. Overall, of course, Pakistan remains committed to trying to engage the youth and of course bring them back, like we said, on the path of tolerance, on the path of dialogue, on the path of agreeing to disagree, so that there is conducive, beneficial dialogue that results into actual gain for Pakistan. Of course, youth is that ultimate force that has to be tapped into for there to be any growth in any society. And of course, the government is committed to doing that. We've also seen the recent leadership. We've also seen Maryam Nawaz herself, start a multitude of youth programs to engage the youth in a conducive manner, so that there is more tolerance in society, and there is, of course, betterment all round for our society as a whole. Thank you so much for joining us today on Perspective.